My dear students, welcome back to English class. Once again, we are going to continue the lesson Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Before I start today's topic, I would like to give you a recap of what we studied in our previous class. In our previous class, we studied Ambedkar's views on a constitution. He says that constitution is a fundamental document. It is an important document which defines the powers and functions of the three organs of the states. The three organs, judiciary, executive and legislature. A good constitution is one which defines the powers and area of control of these three organs and their functions, what works they are supposed to do. Secondly, it should also define the fundamental rights of the citizens. See, it should define both the things. What should the rulers do and what are the rights and duties of the ruled? What are the rights and duties of the citizens? If these two features are clearly defined, that is called a good constitution. This is the view of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Later we see that he was chosen as the law minister due to his rich experience in the field of lawmaking. You know how experienced he was in the field of lawmaking. So that made him the first law minister of independent India. Jawaharlal Nehru nominated him to that post. And later he was hailed as, regarded as modern Manu. I told you in my last class that there was a mythological character, personality called Manu, who was also a lawmaker. Since Ambedkar shared the same quality, he was called modern Manu. We also see in paragraph 8, we also studied what changes have been brought about in the lives and status of people belonging to scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. After independence, government took many measures, many steps to uplift them. They got all the rights which they did not have. They got all the privileges and opportunities which they lost in course of time. As a result, they began to enroll themselves in educational institutions. They reached higher education and they also reached higher posts of civil service. They also enrolled themselves for competitive examinations and they were appointed as ambassadors, governors, judges, lawyers and so on. This is how gradually their status started improving, especially in the 4 or 5 decades of independence. But still, Baba Saheb Ambedkar believed that in some corners of the country, in some parts, this untouchability, this looking down upon the lower caste people still exists. We have not been able to wipe out this problem completely 100%. So in some remote areas, some rigid-minded people, they still follow the untouchability, right? That is that was in 9th paragraph. Then 10th paragraph, he makes an important remark and calls Gandhiji's movements. Gandhiji launched non-cooperation, then salt satyagraha, civil disobedience movement and so many other movements. He calls these movements as grammar of anarchy in modern times. See, during Gandhiji's period, these movements were meaningful because the purpose of these movements was to gain independence, to trouble the British, to win independence through non-violent way. But after independence, Indians started using all these methods to fight against the government, but the system was different. System of fighting was different. They resorted to violent methods. They resorted to destructive methods. This is called as grammar of anarchy by Dr. Ambedkar. Grammar of anarchy means, grammar means here not English grammar. Grammar means a system. System of anarchy. Anarchy is a word which defines lawlessness. There is absence of law, absence of any discipline. So he said that after independence, people started misusing these movements for their personal gains against our own government, our own Indian government. For silly reasons, they started strikes and burns, which is wrong, he says, because all these movements most of the times result in a loss of lives and property. Property refers to private property also, public property also. Today I am going to start with the 11th paragraph. Last time I stopped at the 10th paragraph. Today it is 11th paragraph. About 2500 years ago, the Buddha had questioned the caste divisions in India. He said, the only valid divisions are the divisions between those who are noble and wholesome, and those who are ignoble and unwholesome. 2500 years ago from today, the Buddha questioned, he objected, criticized the system of castes. He said that in his opinion, according to him, there can only be two divisions in the society. What is that? Division number one has people who are noble and wholesome, people who are good in character and healthy. Another section being people who are ignoble. See, noble opposite ignoble. So people who are ignoble, bad and unhealthy. So Buddha said that there can be two divisions, noble and ignoble. Good people and bad people or wicked people, he said. The Tamil poetess Avai had said similarly that there are only two castes in the world, namely the charitable who give and are superior, and the misers who do not and are therefore inferior. Tamil poetess Avai, by name Avai, also criticized the caste system and said that in her opinion there can be only two kind of caste, two types of caste. Type number one, those who are charitable, those who are helpful. Helpful to whom? Those who help poor, haves and have-nots. Haves means rich, have-not means poor. Haves helping the have-nots. That is charitable, charity, giving charity, donations, giving charitable. Those who we can consider them as superior, great people, because they always help others. Another caste is inferior, that is of misers. Who is a miser in Kannada? We call them Jipuna. In Hindi, we call them Kanjus. Kanjus is a person who has money but who doesn't spend. Even if he has to spend 2 rupees also, he will not spend those 2 rupees. So that is the difference between a charitable and a miser. Avai says charitable are great and superior, these misers are inferior. Throughout the course of Indian history, great sages and saints exposed the hollowness of these divisions and sought to bring all the communities of India together in a creative partnership. Our 10th standard students are going to study about social reform movement, in which you are going to come across a number of social reformers. Maybe Dayananda Saraswati, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, then his disciple Vivekananda, Jyotirao Phule, and our Kannada students are very well aware of the Vachanas of Basaveshwara, 12th and 13th century Vachanas of Basaveshwara. All these social reformers they condemned caste system. They said that if we forget all these divisions, we can be partners in the society. We can be partners in the society. Why should we be under partnership? In order to solve our own problems. See, by following caste system, we increase our own problems. We are not able to come face to face. People living in the same society, same area, not coming face to face, not standing very close to each other because purity and impurity reason. But these social reformers said that all people are equal. Do not grade a person in the name of his caste. Just ignore that caste system, they say. Under the policy of divide and rule, the British rulers exaggerated caste distinctions and divided the people of India further to strengthen their hegemony over us. See, it is rightly pointed out. Paragraph 12 says that British followed one policy throughout their rule, right from the point you study about the British up to 1947. British followed one policy with which they acquired control over all over our country. What was that policy? Divide and rule. If people stand united, they cannot rule. They saw, when they entered India, they saw that India was a very rich country, wealthy country, and a resourceful country. Secondly, they also observed that Indians were not united. They had divided themselves in the name of languages, in the name of wealth, caste, religion, etc., etc. So they took advantage of this division or misunderstanding, and very easily they became the rulers. Traders becoming rulers. We see that they entered our country as traders in English East India Company. From traders they became rulers. We have the example of Battle of Plassey, Buxar, and several other battles where British only had an upper hand. Why? Because Indians were not united. So, it was given to two great Indians of our times. So, British went on dividing Indians, but bringing them together was an important task to be taken up. Who took up this task, noble task? Of course, social reformers did their best to reform Indian society, change the mentality of Indians, and here the author refers two great Indians also did their best. Who are they? Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar. These two persons made a notable achievement in bringing Indians closer and closer. They repudiate caste and to proclaim the oneness of Hindu community. What did they do? To repudiate caste system, to criticize, object caste system, and proclaim, announce, declare the oneness of Hindu community. So during that time, in order to win over the British, what was needed? Unity was needed. Unity alone was absent. So they wanted to create unity among Indians. Gandhiji did so. Gandhiji did that, means that he worked for unity of Indians by reminding the higher castes of their duty towards the depressed classes. Baba Saheb Ambedkar did the same by reminding them of their inherent rights to equality with the higher and more powerful castes. See, the aim of Mahatma Gandhiji and Ambedkar was the same, but their approach was different, but their methods were different. What did Gandhiji do? Gandhiji approached, he inspired the upper caste people. What did he say? He told upper caste people about their duties towards the lower caste people. He said that being upper caste people, you have to help the lower caste people. You should not look down upon them. This was the approach of Gandhiji. So Gandhiji, upper caste people. What did Ambedkar do? Ambedkar approached the lower caste people and reminded them about their rights. See, obviously lower caste people were not educated. They did not have awareness regarding their rights. So Ambedkar made them aware of their rights in the society. So Gandhiji approached upper caste people, Ambedkar approached lower caste people and reminded them about their duties and rights in the society. And one stressed the duties, means Gandhiji, and the other stressed the rights together. Ambedkar stressed the rights. They brought about a veritable revolution in social thought. They brought about a great revolution. Revolution refers to change. See, revolt is different, revolution is different. Revolt means open, opposition, open opposition. Revolution refers to change. Industrial revolution, you studied about it in 9th standard, industrial revolution, a change. So both these personalities tried to bring about a change in the society. When Baba Saheb passed away in December 1956, Jawaharlal Nehru made a moving statement, moving reference in the Lok Sabha, describing Baba Saheb as a symbol of revolt. So when Baba Saheb passed away in 1956, Jawaharlal Nehru made a moving reference. What is this moving reference? Moving means not moving. Moving reference refers to an emotional statement. Very sad statement he made. He said that Baba Saheb Ambedkar was a symbol of revolt. Revolt refers to symbol of change, symbol of opposition. Opposing whom? Opposing social injustice, opposing caste distinction, he said. And Jawaharlal Nehru gave a speech which goes like this: I have no doubt that whether we agreed with him or not in many matters, that perseverance, that persistence, and that it may, if I may use the word, sometimes virulence of his opposition to all this did keep the people's mind awake and did not allow them to become complacent about matters which could not be forgotten, and helped in rousing up those groups in our country which had suffered for so long in the past. It is therefore sad that such a prominent champion of the oppressed and the depressed in India, and one who took such an important part in our activities, has passed away. So Jawaharlal Nehru praised the qualities of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He said that throughout his life, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar not only acquired his knowledge, but also he used this knowledge for the betterment of India, for the betterment of downtrodden people. He understood that these people are really suffering and something has to be done. And Jawaharlal Nehru says that this task was ably done by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And he said, the prominent champion of the oppressed classes. Champion means not a sports champion. Champion here means a supporter. Supporter of the oppressed and depressed. He is passed away. He is no more now. There can be no doubt that the day is not far off when Baba Saheb Ambedkar's dream of Samata will become a reality. So one or the other day, one fine morning, Baba Saheb's dream, what was the dream he left for us? We have to realize his dream, make it true. What was his dream? The dream of Samata. What is meant by Samata? Samata refers to equality. Egalitarian society where all are considered equal. That principle, that dream will become a reality. In this way, we studied Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's life in brief, his achievements, his role in making our constitution, his philosophy of life, from whom he got inspiration, who influenced him a lot, His work along with Gandhiji in bringing about unity, his ideas on constitution, three organs of the society, his views on fundamental rights, everything was dealt with in this. And more than that, we also understood that in order to acquire knowledge, in order to strengthen our mind, what we need is knowledge. How do we get knowledge? By reading books. Of course, TV and internet gives us knowledge, no problem. But the best source of knowledge is books. It is evident from the life of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So, everybody should cultivate the habit of reading one or the other book related to his or her interest. So, book, that's why I said book is your lifelong friend. It is a window to the world. It opens all the windows of knowledge. So, thank you very much. Now, I have completed this lesson. Notes will be done later, no problem. So, today I am going to break this class into two parts. First part is over. In the second part, now I am going to start one grammar. It's very easy. I'll deal with a few examples on the board. You will understand it. It's not that hard. And after that, I will send the same exercise or more exercises in your WhatsApp, which you have to do in your grammar book. So, next part is grammar. I am splitting the class into two today. Just a second. So, today's grammar part is collocation. I will write an example to make you understand it in a simple way. We have done this in our activity part. You must be remembering that before starting lessons, we sent you a number of bridge course activities. In that, one of the exercises is collocation. If I do it, you will realize and you will recall. See the first one. Earth. Here I am going to write land, water, quake and sun. See, I have written earth here, earth, and land. You have to use this word and combine it with the one of the words given here. It is a combination of two words. Collocation is nothing but bringing two different words together to frame a new word which gives some other meaning. I'll do this for you. Earth, with which word does it match usually? Can you say earth land? No, we don't say earth land. Do we say earth water? No, wrong. Earth sun? No. Earthquake? Earthquake? Yes, we usually say earthquake. So, here earth can be collocated with the quake. So, it becomes earthquake. Now, you understood that we are bringing two different words together to form a new word which gives different meaning. So, the combination of these two words is called a collocation. So, today I am going to deal with a few exercises. Later you will get them as a WhatsApp message. See another one, book. If it is book, art, hand, then pen, says worm. How do you say that? Book, art you can say no. Book hand, you can say. Handbook, you can say. That's different. Here, book is the main word. You have to join some other word with it. Book, hand, wrong. Can you say book, pen? No, there is no meaning. Book and pen have meanings, but when you join, it loses its meaning. Can you say bookworm? Worm, small worm, bookworm? Yes, that is a right expression. What is this bookworm? Does it mean that the small worm which is found in the book, when you open old books, worm will come out, that one? No. Bookworm is a person who always reads books. Ambedkar, we can give example. Bookworm is a person who always reads books, right? It is called bookworm. Next example. Railway, see, chair, station, run, stop. See these two. With which word do we commonly use railway? Railway chair, no meaning. Railway station, railway run, railway stop. Do we say railway stop? Indrali railway stop do we say? Bus stop we say, right? Railway station. Railway station. So it is a collocation. Next, long. Long. See, small, hen, run, food. Food. Don't say food, it is actually food. So, long, how do you collocate? What is the combination word? Can we say long, small? No. Long hen? No. Long food? How can it be long food? Heavy food is right. Long food is wrong. Long run is the right combination. What is the meaning of long run? Sir, long run means running 2-3 kilometers, several kilometers, cross country race. Sorry, it is wrong. Long run refers to a long period of time. Say short run and long run. Short run refers to short period of time. Long run refers to long period of time. 15, 30, 50, 100 years. Long run. A dam is built for use of a long run. So, long period of time. Next, blood. What can be collocated with blood? Post, water, book, bank. See the collocation. Blood, how can you collocate it with birds? Blood and post you can know. Blood and water, blood and book, bank, blood bank do we say? Yes, it's a place where blood is found. Those who need blood should approach the blood bank. Next, money, vitamin M, money, coins, letter, stamps, order. Come on. Money what? With money which word do we use? Money. Money coins do we say? A coin and money same, na? No, they belong to the same category, but you cannot collocate. That is no meaning. Money coin do we say? No. Money letter? Money letter? Letter money? No. Money stamps? Sorry, odd combination. Money order? Have you heard this term, money order? Money order? Yes. Money order is a postal system of sending money to other person. I can also send money through money order with the help of post office. So money order. So next one, charming. CHARMING. Beautiful, attractive. Here, girl, answer, thought, and book. So it's very easy. Charming means very attractive and beautiful. What's the combination? Of course, charming girl. If it is handsome, handsome, woman, girl, lady, boy, handsome. It is boy, handsome boy. You cannot say handsome lady or handsome woman. So I think you got some idea regarding how to collocate words now. Next I am going to give you many such exercises via WhatsApp where you have to underline the right collocative word. It is asked for 1 mark. You can score 1 mark very easily in this. So hope you have understood the lesson also and the grammar part also. I will send the copy of this in your WhatsApp. So thank you very much. Have a nice time. Take very good care of yourselves.